Welcome back to the channel. We're back. Max is here. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers that have joined the channel recently. Obviously, we haven't made a video since the last video went absolutely nuts, crazy. All the new subscribers have come in. So, Max, introduce yourself again. Let everyone know who you are, because some of them might not have met you yet.
Yeah, Max. My name's Max. I played for Willstone last season in the National League, and yeah, it's a busy time for a footballer now in the summer. All about transfers, where you're going, where he's going. And yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so today's video is going to be one signing every Premier League team should make. That's an absolute mouthful to get out, by the way. Yeah. But we've been looking at the Prem up and down. Believe me, we've been scouring the table. Yes. We've gone through every team, English signings, continental signings, trying to work out one player that is essential for every team in the Premier League to sign.
I mean, we've talked about some teams, but we will talk about who don't need to make any signings. Man City, hint, hint. Yeah. And then some teams who need to make multiple, and somehow we got to nail it down to one player.
Yeah, and even some clubs that literally there's no point us even suggesting, right? Some are way too good. What do we know? But look, let's get into it. First up, we're going to do it in Premier League table order from last season, and then the bottom three clubs we'll do like the newly promoted teams. So what we're doing, the first part of the video, we're going to do the top 10, and then the second part we'll do the bottom 10.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, for any Chelsea fans, we're not going to be in this one.
Get the next video.
See you in the next video, Chelsea fans. Right, anyway, let's crack on. First things first, Man City. Obviously going to probably go on and win the treble.
Yep.
How do you improve a team that's that strong already? You don't. You just spend money for the sake of tax money, probably.
Yeah, you don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of rumours going around that Gundogan's going on a free, maybe to Barcelona, but we don't know. They can't even get their house in order at Barcelona. So if that is happening, my suggestion on the back of this, if that is happening, is Joshua Kimmich from Bayern. Rumours at Bayern, he's not unhappy, but he's kind of, you know, won the league again there on the last day of the season. Needs a new challenge. Guardiola loves him, like buzzed off him when they were there at Bayern Munich. So he's one of the most intelligent players he's managed, coached. So yeah. No-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. Kimmich would be an unbelievable shout. I'm going for a midfield replacement as well. I think that's the only area Man City might as well just add strength and depth there, especially if Gundogan leaves. The obvious one for me is Kovacic. I don't see him staying at Chelsea, and Guardiola will make him a world-class player again.
What there is to mention as well, there are some unhappy players at City. So Laporte hasn't played a massive part. He'll go. So you could sign a young defender who's happy to, you know, be behind Ake, Diaz, Stones, but yeah, I've gone with Kimmich.
Yeah, definitely good. Two signings you could actually imagine happening.
Yeah,
that's what we've tried to do with this, is make it as realistic as possible. Going into Arsenal, this one, tough one. Obviously, biggest departure from Arsenal this summer is probably Xhaka.
Xhaka, 100%.
So that's the obvious replacement, right? You've got to improve on what Xhaka gave them.
A fair play to him, you know, because not my biggest fan, but I wasn't one of his biggest fans, but completely turned the fan base around and was a really instrumental part of their team. If he is going to Leverkusen, I think it is, you're throwing out a centre mid. So we know Rice has been... Is Rice your one?
Yeah.
Rice is your one.
Rice,
so there's a lot of speculation going on there. But there's speculation also Rice might go Bayern Munich. So I'm going for maybe a realistic one. We know Caicedo is being thrown out there. But Douglas Luiz at Aston Villa, ex-Man City, knows how to play Arteta's way.
Yeah.
Very, very good player. Dead Ball's been putting them in recently as well.
Wonderful assist.
So Douglas Luiz.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting... I didn't think too much about him. I've gone with Rice. I think Chelsea's not happening now. I can only see Rice going 3 clubs. It would be United, Arsenal or Bayern Munich. And I think Arsenal might as well get it done.
And Arteta has been after Douglas Luiz before. I think it rings a bell maybe a season or 6 months ago.
That is a pretty interesting one. I've not thought about that. You could sort of see that happening. I think Rice, for me, I think he just adds a bit of physicality that they lose with Xhaka. They're a small team.
They are.
So I can see that.
And he can play. Yeah. I mean, Rice, if you're ordering them, he's your #1 target, but you're talking 100 mil, what we're seeing.
And you don't have to compete as much to get Douglas Luiz, right?
Yeah.
So,
and
Arsenal, we're definitely agreeing, though, that's probably the position they need to strengthen.
Yeah.
The only other area I'd say of Arsenal's goals, but that gets a little bit hard to sort of work out. Then, obviously, third, I've got to look at where people finished up in the league. Man United finished third.
Yeah.
So I think that's right.
Yeah, won a League Cup. Obviously lost to City in the FA Cup final.
That's mad that they finished third.
Terrible start, losing to Brentford 4-0 or something. 4-0 down at half.
They called him Eric 10 seconds.
Yeah, done a good job. He's complaining they haven't spent enough money. I mean, they spent money on Anthony.
100 mil on Anthony.
So I think they're ready to go again. I've written down. Obviously, everyone knows about Harry Kane. their number one target. I don't see him going from Spurs, if I'm being honest. And now we're seeing in the FA Cup final that De Gea had another stinky performance. So I'm throwing out Emi Martinez out there. Fantastic goalkeeper. You know, he's had to do the hard yards at Arsenal, didn't play, won the FA Cup, obviously had an incredible World Cup. Emi Martinez, decent with his feet, like Ten Hag wants, but he's preventing more shots on target going in the back of the net than De Gea right now.
He's definitely a better keeper. Yeah, he's definitely stopped more goals. I'm sure if you look at the stats as well, that would be there in writing proof that he's literally saving more goals and stopping more goals than De Gea. De Gea, it's mental for me. He ended up getting Golden Glove as well.
Yeah.
And it's mad, but like he makes too many mistakes. How can the defence trust a player like that? Man United's defence shaky anyway.
I think that needs strengthening as well. 100% a centre half. Maguire, you know, probably would expect to leave.
The obvious signing for Manchester United would be a centre back, because I think they're going to end up with a guy from Napoli. And I think that's going to happen. So I didn't want to put him in. So I'm going up the other end of the pitch. You've already mentioned him. Harry Kane. Like, Man City don't need Kane anymore.
No.
The next best team in the country is Man United for Kane to go to and realistically have a chance of breaking the record.
Kane
I just think they pay the money.
Trophies, right? That's not guaranteed trophies at Man U.
But it is with him in the team.
It's not.
Man United win trophies, Max.
They win cup. No one's overturning City right now.
Look back at that.
They'll get closer.
Right, and tell me that team didn't win trophies.
Yeah, that team.
Look,
definitely
by the way, you need to little disclaimer for the shirts. They're only up because we felt it was inclusive to include all of the Premier League teams.
That one behind me gives me nightmares. That just shows that just like Van Nistelrooy one-on-one goal trophies. But yeah,
I agree.
A lot of work to be done by Ten Hag, and I think he will do it.
You don't understand how much it pains me to have up those red shirts in the background. Believe me, but we thought we better. But yeah, look, Man United. They could be, to see that they finish third with what they've had this season, if they spend and recruit in the right areas, goalie, centre-back and striker, they'll go on to probably fighting for the league again, I think, if they get it right.
Well, possibly. I disagree.
Kane, 30 goals a season if they get him up front.
Yeah.
Or a goalkeeper that's actually...
100% gets them closer, no doubt. But I'm just saying, like, I can't see anyone touching City. Unless Pep Guardiola is still there, I can't see anyone touching them for 2, 3, 4 years. But
so another surprise in the top four really this season is Newcastle. Top four was a complete surprise to me, bar Man City.
Yeah, unbelievable achievement.
So Newcastle United, they've got a pretty well-rounded squad, I'd say. Probably lacking in a few areas.
And do you know what? I'll take my hat off to Eddie Howe and that club and the people at the hierarchy of that club. They're spending big money. Isak and Guimaraes in the last summer.
I think that rounds up to about 100 mil.
Clever. Good signings for the future, playing week in, week out, strengthening the 11. So that's something I'm going to mention in a minute. They've got to strengthen the 11. Yes, the squad needs strengthening because they're going to be in Europe and in more, in more competitions. But you've got to strengthen the 11, and then those players who were playing go on your bench, and that's how you kind of grow outwards.
That's exactly what I was looking at. Their squad's already got the squad players. They just need some more star power in that team, like some serious players. I think Isak's really impressed me. I've been well impressed with that.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say with Newcastle is you're probably looking at centre mid, a bit of creativity. They got some great goal scorers, and I just feel like their creativity lacked a bit. I mean, Almiron had an unbelievable month, but then nothing for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So I've gone with James Maddison from Leicester. Obviously relegated. Maddison's been linked around every sort of club in and around Europe. Maddison's been linked with. Obviously England international. I just see him fitting in nicely with Eddie Howe, and I can just see Newcastle United needing that bit of creativity next season.
Yeah, that's the obvious one at the minute. It's going around the rumour mill, isn't it? I've gone a bit left wing, maybe a little bit. Like I've mentioned, no, I've mentioned Ziyech is someone with proven, European stature. He could play on the right, get those balls in Almiron's position. You have Isak maybe on the left, who's playing there at the minute. But also Bowen. Yeah. Bowen, he's going to be playing a final very soon for West Ham. I think it's time for him to kick on as well. So I'll go for Bowen.
Yeah, Bowen was linked obviously with a big move last summer. Didn't really get it, but you can just see like the young English talent working under Eddie Howe as it's already doing. Even like Matty Target sort of.
And I think they're better off.
Reignited his career.
I think they're better off from signing players like this than going. There's 60 mil at Neymar, who's going to be there 1-2 years max.
Give you half a season as well, because Neymar retires in like March every year.
Yeah,
it's his sister's birthday.
Yeah, off to Brazil, off back to Brazil. But yeah, it's upset the balance of the team, the change room, and that's what's been their strength this season. Unbelievable team spirit, and yeah, so you know, young players are going to use for the future, but also need to be used in Europe.
Yeah, completely agree. I think we're both sort of set on, and I think everyone probably agrees with Newcastle. Recruited really well, been smart. Everyone thought they could splash the cash, repeat City, but they're kind of doing it in a smarter way. And then we're going to move on to the next team below them, already doing their business as well, Liverpool.
Liverpool, well, done the McAllister deal over the line. Had to reinforce that midfield. Yeah. Had to. Milner going. That midfield.
Keita gone.
Keita on a free, gone. So there's a massive hole in that midfield.
Legs gone.
Thiago injured a lot of the time. So midfield has to be... well, what do you think? Trent's been playing in that position recently, but from a right-back position. We were discussing this earlier. Does Trent get moved into midfield, and does that make him more or less effective than him playing right-back and kind of drifting into midfield?
Yeah, Trent's such a weird one for me. I feel like with more space, he's so effective, but people kind of found it out and like closed off that space, shut it down, and just made him less of an asset to Liverpool. They moved him in midfield and teams were confused again on where he was picking up the ball in what areas. For me, midfield's essential for Liverpool. I think they can get by with their defence. The front three will click.
They've got front five. Well,
yeah, to be fair, they got goals. Yeah. That's what they're going to need.
Jota, Diaz, Nunes,
towards
Salah.
the end of the season, there were improvements again. For me, I think Moises Caicedo would be a really good one, but I can't see him getting both from Brighton, even though they raided Southampton years ago and took all the same players, basically, that were all up for sale. But this time, I'm going to go with an outside of the Premier League player in Florentino Luis from Benfica, similar mold to Moises Caicedo, and I can just see that type of player adding the energy, probably what they thought Naby Keita was going to be, fitting into a Jurgen Klopp team really well.
Yeah, I've got Jacob Ramsey from Villa.
Tidy player.
Young, I think, young or old, if Klopp gets on the phone to you, I think that's one phone call you find very hard to put down and go, right, I'm not going Liverpool. He, I reckon, has got the gift of the gab and you want to play for him. Jacob Ramsey, young, goals started coming for him later on the season
as well.
Gerrard, yeah, of course, from Villa. He's developing that goals and assists to his game. I think he'd be a good number 8 in the future. They missed out on Basuma last year. I thought Basuma would suit Liverpool down to the ground. So again, in a similar mould, but Ramsey gets forward a bit more. I like Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah, he's a quality player. Definitely a year, if not this summer, away from a big move. 100%. The biggest surprise of the season is probably the next team, Brighton. They've obviously had a really good season, better than they ever expected. Do they need to strengthen? I mean, well, what do you think?
Similar to Newcastle, they'll have to. One, because obviously McAllister, before this video goes out, looks like he's signing for Liverpool. Caicedo, as we spoke earlier, looks like he wanted to go in January, signed a new deal, so they'll get more money for him this summer. He looks like he's going. So yeah, 100% they're going to strengthen. Their recruitment is ridiculous. So I'm not going to offer any advice for them going forward because the amount of, even the managers they signed, Potter obviously failed at Chelsea, but Potter, great manager. And then De Zerbi is one of my favourite managers, probably the most fascinating manager in the league right now. Yeah. The way they play, that Arsenal game away from home, best 90 minutes I've seen from that kind of team.
Yeah, phenomenal side. We spoke about Brighton in another video as well, didn't we? They've been really, really good, a massive surprise this season and just pushed on from when Potter left. I was struggling. I think their midfield's going to get ripped apart. But then I thought about some midfield signings and they've actually pretty much done their business already, which is what you were saying. They're so elite in that recruitment department. Looks like Dahoud and Milner might be on the books pretty soon. The one for me now that I've been looking at is they've obviously signed João Pedro as well. Yeah. I think Scamacca, being Italian with a bit of flair from West Ham, could be a really, really good type of player.
For the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, their XG has been so high. So expected goals, expected to score X amount of goals, and they've just had, you know, your Welbecks, your Morpays, your maybe Glenn Murray before that. So just haven't had a Premier League guaranteed goal scorer, and Scamacca I think would solve that issue.
Yeah, so Scamacca for me is like a player that West Ham got it wrong with.
Italian,
he's a big guy, Italian. So and De Zerbi is a fiery character, so he can handle the flair that comes with that guy. He just got it wrong at West Ham, I think. I don't think he suits the system.
And Antonio's been all right. You say Antonio's done a good job, more of your physical.
And they got Ings, so there's definitely room for a striker to leave West Ham. I was toying with the idea of Levi Colwill, but I really can't see him leaving Chelsea. I just don't want it to happen.
It shouldn't happen, but probably will, knowing
I think we're going to both agree on that one. So next up, talking about Basuma, Tottenham Hotspur. What are you thinking with Spurs? Spurs is a mess for me. I'm not even sure about the gaffer. He obviously did well at Celtic, but like that for me, if you're a player and you're looking at Tottenham just missing out on Europe, Postecoglou isn't inspiring you to join them if they don't have Europe.
I'm quite intrigued. I think it's a decent appointment. Let's be honest, they missed out on X, Y, Z. That he's like 5th or 6th on the list.
Yeah.
A bit how they ended up with Nuno Espirito Santo.
It reminds me of that.
But I really like him. I like the way he talks in the media. I think he's a good guy. I think he plays good football. So, you know, I'm quite intrigued to see how that goes down. Listen, the problems at Spurs are all over the pitch.
Keep telling me, Max. Keep him coming.
We all know the biggest problem obviously is Kane. I think they'll keep hold of him, and Levy will swallow the free transfer in the summer. Maybe not. That's just my opinion. But I mean, you've got centre back. They need a centre back for me. Romero, probably their best one, very rash. Sanchez never hit the height. They need a centre mid. The only positions I'd say stay clear of. They're very good. Left wing, up front, right wing. Kulusevski, I really, really like.
He's going, I think.
Where?
I think he might be returning to Juve. I don't think they can get the deal done.
I think injuries aside, he just starts right wing every time.
Good player. I can't see why Spurs wouldn't want to get that done. But he may be leaving. Go on then. Who's your player that the Spurs need to sign?
Maddison, James Maddison. I've got for Spurs. Okay. We'll knit that front line. Because I just think that their midfielders are all quite similar. You got Højbjerg. Bentancur is different to Højbjerg, but they're still both quite deep. No goals. And then Harry Winks, all these kind of people who are not really getting a look in. So, yeah, someone who can kind of link it, score goals and assist goals. So, James Maddison.
Yeah, Kane would thrive with Maddison behind him, that's for sure. So, I've gone with a couple of players here for Spurs. It kind of depends on... I had one, and then Postecoglou got announced, and I was like, right, that guy is a definite for me. Probably throw him in as well. So Harry Suter moved to Leicester, had a great World Cup, and Australian
Aussie
League.
connection. I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and Spurs need a centre back. This guy's an absolute unit, good on the ball. I could almost see it happening. The only other player is if Kulusevski goes, they need someone on the right because they lost Lucas Moura as well.
Yeah.
I think a return for Marcus Edwards would be an interesting one for me. Yeah. Had a nice campaign with Sporting, been really good.
Did he score against them in the Champions League?
If he didn't score, he had a great game.
He did. Yeah.
And I could just see him fitting back in quite nicely into that Spurs team. He's gone off, he's worked hard, and he's showing people that he's good enough now.
Interesting. Postecoglou had a really good, he knows the Asian market quite well, that Australasian Asian. A lot of Asian players at Celtic who were their best players.
Yeah.
So it's a massive step up to Spurs. It'd be interesting whether he taps into that kind of market.
Yeah, brings in some like outsiders
that we don't know about,
that he's been well aware of, or some Celtic reunions. So going on to the West London clubs that pretty much had a very similar season in the end.
Brentford,
I mean, one of them teams that know what they're doing before we do.
Data-driven, scouting, recruitment, all that. Unbelievable season.
Yeah.
I do think they've got the smallest budget in the league. Unbelievable season. Tony obviously suspended.
That's a big blow. Until
January, I think it is. So do they go in and get a striker? I think they will need to. And Mbeumo, however you say it, has been very good this season. He's stepped up quite nicely. But they're probably one injury away from up front from being a bit...
You like Wisser as well, didn't you?
I do like him, yeah. I think he comes on, does a job, and I think they had a good end to the season, reasonable one, when they're both playing up front. Play 3-5-2 a lot with 2 wing backs. So, I mean, it's a tricky one because I don't think they finish where they did this season, next season.
Nah,
even though I love Thomas Frank, you can't see Chelsea and all them teams having as bad a season again.
I think
hope not, anyway.
Next season there'll be a return to a bit more normality in and around like the top 7, I would say.
Brentford huge on set pieces. So my outside shout is James Ward-Prowse.
Oh yeah,
relegated obviously with Southampton. I think Brentford famous to have that set piece coach, long throws into the box, a lot of goals from set pieces. No other
they
set
got
piece.
Some Vikings in their team as well that would be on the end of a Prowse.
Imagine if it's whips, best set piece taker in the world.
Gosh. My thought with Prowse was pretty similar actually, but I got him later on. But for my one is similar. I was thinking about they need a big unit. Tony's done so well for them. And I've gone with the Coventry striker. Now, I might make an absolute shamble of his name, but Gyökeres is how I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, that's good.
He scored a lot of goals.
Yeah.
He's Scandinavian, I think Swedish. He's an interesting prospect. And I think if Coventry had gone up, they would have even struggled keeping hold of him. So I think a Prem move is on the cards.
Yep.
And what better place to do it than at Brentford, where they've already got that basis of like Scandinavian talent thriving in the Prem.
Yeah. I mean, again, it seems like their dressing rooms, the tight knit is one of their strengths. So
you can imagine them doing like the Viking clap before the game, isn't it? Like getting ready for it.
yeah.
So moving on to Fulham, who actually probably finished a little bit off of where I thought they would in the end. I think Villa kind of swapped places with Fulham.
Mitrovic, 10
true.
game suspension,
Massive ban.
best player. So yeah, come back. He scored a few and missed a pen, didn't he? Yeah, obviously he's their biggest player. Marco Silva done an excellent job there. I mean, signed Willian.
Yeah, what a signing.
Awful, in Chelsea's last year and then Arsenal's year. Arsenal celebrating they nicked one of our players. He was terrible for them.
Shocking.
Come and been fantastic for Fulham. So his legs, I'm not saying his legs are going because he's still got that move where he lifts that legs up and goes past the player. But I've got Nonto, who got relegated with Leeds. I'll be honest, he probably could end up at a bigger club than Fulham. But Fulham, exciting Portuguese kind of style of play. I know Nonto's Italian, but really exciting player. I can see him fitting in nicely in London.
Yeah, Fulham's a weird one for me as well. They got a really international squad as well. And I've been trying to think about who would fit in there. And with Ruben Loftus-Cheek sort of falling apart at AC Milan, I can almost see him not having to move very far and just going back to where he's had a bit of success before.
Yeah.
Fulham's a weird one for me. I'm not really sure. I think if Mitrovic goes, striker's essential. The only other name that I was toying with, I just don't know. Chelsea might come in if they don't get anything sorted. Jesus. But the only other name I was toying with was Balogun, so it's just between him. But Ruben, if it breaks down, I think a local Prem move is more realistic. And I've been looking around at your Palaces, your Fulhams, your Bournemouths, and I think Fulham would be his best bet.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
So look, that's the top 10 done. Don't know what you think of your realism of these transfers happening, but I've got a good feeling about some of mine.
Yeah, you've gone for the mainstream ones, and he's gone on to like the BBC gossip page. Other gossip page are welcome on this channel. But yeah, you're expecting the big movers to be Rice, Maddison, Kane.
We forgot a team, Max.
Who?
Aston Villa.
Yeah, Villa. Yeah.
I just forgot all about Aston Villa, and they finished way above. We just got lost in the Tottenham chat.
I've got them in order here, so yeah.
Villa. We're gonna have to throw them in.
Yeah.
Right, Aston Villa. A phenomenal return to form under Unai Emery.
What a job he's done.
An unbelievable job.
In the relegation zone or just outside, and they've ended up in Europe.
There was that moment in time when we sacked Potter, I think, and we were level on points as Chelsea, and then we went one way and they went the other. Or we didn't really move. We just sort of stayed stagnant, didn't we?
I think Martinez, as I've mentioned already, he's getting itchy feet. He's an abrasive character, and he's going to be wanting. I think he'll have his season. He might go. So you got to hold on to him, but he might have his season in Europe and then go after. Who knows? So you got to keep hold of him. We know Emery's got that tap into the Spanish market. He's been very successful in Europa League with those Spanish teams. Done all right with Arsenal as well. One guy I mentioned, I think they struggle on the wings a little bit, so Harvey Barnes could sit there. But I have tapped in. My one shout is Pau Torres.
Oh, yeah.
Linked with Man United a few seasons ago, has always been ready for a move back to back with a Spanish manager or to the Premier League. Centre back or holding mid, or can do that hybrid role stepping in. He'd be good because I think that Diego Carlos obviously got injured straight away for them. He's returning. You don't know what he's going to be like. Mings obviously was Gerrard's favourite, then dropped by Gerrard, and now he's coming back. So he's done all right.
Weird one for
and
me.
then you got Konsa. So I think you could strengthen up with Europe going forward in that centre back role.
Yeah, I like the Pau Torres shout. I definitely think Unai Emery is one of those guys that plays a system where if he knows someone works in it, it's the same everywhere he goes, that it would just be a nice fit. I can't see Aston Villa not winning the Conference League next season, by the way. Unai Emery is a phenomenal manager.
It's just going to be balancing all the games, as it always is.
I think he'll do it. So that's really important with theirs.
Good shout.
And I think they're weak on the wings as well. I think John McGinn's had a few games out wide. Like there's a couple of others. He's played Bailey up front at times as well. So I've gone with one of Villarreal's star youngsters that Emery had when he was there, and it's Jeremy Pino. He was linked with Arsenal last summer. It didn't really happen, and Emery was very strict on the fact they'd have to pay a lot of money to get him out of Villarreal. Villa have a good budget. I can see that happening. I think he's had an average season this season at Villarreal, but I think in a good team with an end product, Villarreal haven't really had that this season. He'd do really well in England. So I'd like to see him over it.
I like it.
So look, that's the top 10. We've gone through our teams. We've tried to be realistic. Max has gone out there with some of his. I've read the gossip column. And we'll see what happens. See if any of them work out. But look, if you want to see your team, it's going to be in the next video when we do the bottom half. Chelsea fans, I'll see you in that one. Yeah, right. Catch you in the next one.